I'm overdue for another Rippaverse video, at least on this channel. So found a little comment that was, I guess, tweeted at me. Twitter is where all of the content is certainly at. But before we get going, perfect time to also let you know, again, we got this merch sale, 15% off of all merchandise orders, $75 or more. If you pay that much for your orders, all domestic orders, we're waiving that free shipping if you, again, spend over $75. And if you order by the 16th, domestic, of course, you're sure to get those by Christmas. So be sure to get in where you fit in right now. You got the hats, got the shirts, got the posters. Go ahead and get in there. But I want to talk about this today. You can consider it a little bit of I don't want these efforts to be diminished, not because of myself. I think people need to understand the magnitude of what it is that we did, and I think this is a great time to do it. So the new goalpost right now, it's in the stratosphere, or out of the stratosphere, actually, the goalpost for Rippaverse and ISOM. You know, it started, it'll never come, it'll come out late. Well, it's not going to make this much money. And now, you know, we get towards, ISOM 1, 2, 3. Now we're talking ISOM 5. Now, this conversation came out of this idiot right here. This conversation came out of, and I'm going to actually show y'all that in a bit. Some guy who, we're talking about cultural significance, right, of this whole deal. And of course, there are people that are there that are saying, as this popped off, like this guy right here, that this is very culturally significant considering the success of ISOM. Of course, there are going to be others that disagree. It is what it is. But I will say this. It's what we did. And again, this isn't about me. Yes, I'm the writer. Yes, I'm the owner of the company, and I've worked very hard. But this was a collaborative effort, and people need to understand what happened. I was obviously, let's say that chips were stacked against me, and I did it in a very unorthodox way. Not saying that I'm the first person to do it this way. Not to say that I'm the only person to do it this way. But when you consider everything here, you'd be foolish to act like this was just a nothing burger. Even if we didn't see the level of success in the future, what we did is inevitably going to be adopted by some other people who may do greater things than what even we're doing at the Rippaverse. But let's make no mistake here. This was an important thing that happened. I put my own money where my mouth was. There are no external investors for Rippaverse. Nobody pitched in a bunch of money outside of myself. I took on the upward of more than $200,000 of my own money, right? Before I ever saw a dime of it to put into this project, right? This is why we were able to get the book out relatively quick from the pre-orders or after the pre-orders, because I had already had it ready. So I went and got industry vets, surrounded myself with industry veterans, Gabe El Taib, Cliff Riches, Eric Weathers on the letters, and we came up, of course, with ISOM 1. No internal investing, no marketing budget at all. So this was as organic as it's going to get. We've talked about the shield media, right, who shields basically for the big two and the major indies and all that, who refuse to cover this for reasons that are strictly political. We've talked about the biggest comic book forum in Reddit, which you got banned for talking about it at all. The chips were stacked against us, and we did it in our own way, not just with how the project was presented, more importantly, with how the economics of this all kind of worked out. So I put my money where my mouth is. I make sure all of these guys are paid for. I get my staff. I do all of that. The commissions to the people that are contracted to help out with the work. I made sure everybody got paid before I ever saw a dime. But the thing where it gets really different, right, from what it is that we did, is the distribution of it all. We did our own distribution. That was a collaborative effort of my two teams, one being here where I worked out of the warehouse, our other warehouse being in Tennessee. Okay. And we handled, between two different teams, we handled the entire ISOM 1 pre-order campaign. Over 42,000 total purchases, almost 50,000 total orders, and over 60,000 books. And we didn't just have books up for sale. We had we had 3 different covers and we had the concept art, but we also had different merchandise, posters as well. And the logistics of it all is not something. This is why people put it on other folks, because logistics are a real thing and not anybody can do it. So I spent money to get our own warehouse, to get our own staff, to make sure we got this stuff packaged. We did our own boxing. We didn't use typical Gemini mailers. If you got just a book, you guys saw that sturdy, custom-made box, Rippaverse box that I got made here by a team out of Dallas who helped us get those boxes. We did that ourselves, and we made this bad boy come to life, and we made sure these orders, my warehouse team is still working there. I was right there ground floor for 3 months doing all of the stuff, packing the orders, all of that. My team did a great job of making sure they were assisting. We had our regular warehouse team, but you had guys like Alex and Brian and other people who were coming to who have other duties with the Rippaverse, who were coming to the warehouse and helping out. My team, what they did is nothing short of amazing. And what we accomplished was no short of amazing. The reason why I wanted to pull up that, because when the book came out, the numbers speak for themselves. We had the number 2 behind Spawn. And this was this huge, the Spawn number 1 deal that they were coming out with. And we were second. You saw the resale market. This was in about as high of demand as it could possibly get. So not only did we handle our material ourselves, we had all this custom packaging and all that, but just the distribution efforts that we did were by ourselves. I'm not saying that other comic book companies that don't do it, but this is our first project. It was massive, and we made sure that it happened. The big dogs do not do their own distribution, relying on retailers to buy their books. Some of that stuff being like predatory in terms of their practice. Hey, you can get this special variant that you're going to be able to sell on the upward of X amount of dollars if you get 50 of them or what have you. So even if those books are rotting on the shelves, these guys are trying to make money. A lot of these local comic book shops are struggling, and you have those types of practices being done, which is hilarious. They're like, oh, well, your book's $35. Wait until you find out how much actually the retailers are charging for some of these special variants that they got kind of weaseled into purchasing. Anyway, we did all that ourselves, and we sold. Again, when you consider how many books that we sold, they would consider, if you look at Comicron's data and what they consider, because it has a spine and all that, what they consider a graphic novel versus a comic book, they consider this a comic book. They consider it a graphic novel. This sold it wasn't even close. Matter of fact, let's just, for the sake of the conversation, go back to the receipts, man, right here. Hold on, let me go to Comicron real quick, and I'm gonna go get those year-end numbers on that report in 2021. So last year, and you're going to see how much. Let me see if I can go. Where is it at? Okay, 22. Okay, so we look at some of these numbers. If it's going to work, I guess. Maybe it's not. Oh, yeah, I'm looking at the wrong number, not 2022, 2021. All right, so let's check this out. King Spawn, of course, dominated, if you guys remember. Now, even if we went on sheer just sales, right, of comics, which they would not consider this a comic, it's not a floppy like all of these are, we would have still been in the top 170-ish. I mean, now, if you consider the sales right now, we'd be higher than that. We'd be top 150. We've sold over 60,000 books. They're being accounted for. So we'd be in like the top 150. But if you go to what they consider a graphic novel, the top selling one to stores was the Department of Truth, 24,000. We more than doubled that. And you know what? I didn't have to rely on the retailers to do it. I didn't have to rely on the distributor to do it. We did it just direct to the customers. We'd have, if they consider those, which are not going to put us on the list, because remember, these are estimated units sold to the stores. So even if nobody picks these bad boys up, they still count it as a sale. All of my books that are sold are sales, not ones that, even the ones that went to the comic book shops, They all sold out. MyComicBookShop.com, for example, having 2 waves. One of the biggest online retailers, MyComicShop.com, and they sold out of both waves of cover A and B. But as you can see, we more than doubled this right here. That's what the numbers say. Nothing. What we did is, again, nothing short of amazing. And this isn't me hyping myself up, being arrogant, having some big ego, because it wasn't just me. I will not allow these weirdos to try to diminish or undermine what it is that my team did, what the creatives did in helping this project, and everybody that worked out of the warehouse, working very, very hard, 6 days a week. Definitely my man's Brandon, my operations manager. We're working 6 days a week, making sure that we get these orders out. We won't allow you to just be like, well, it was just a thing. No, it was a big thing that happened. It wasn't just a thing. It was massive. And yes, in order to sustain this, we got to keep giving people. Our son was a success, no doubt about it. Got great reception. You're going to have those outliers, as with anything, but it was largely, for the most part, it was great reception. People are stoked for iSum too. And in order to sustain this, we have work to do. But considering the way that we did it, and we show that this can happen, you can use the power of social media. You can go directly to your customers, having a direct line of sight with them. You don't have to rely on like everybody getting their cut, taking stuff off the top, be it with like retailers or distributors, that's how it goes, man. When you have Diamond and now Penguin House, Random Penguin House, I think is what DC used, but for the most part, for years up until 2020, it was Diamond. Diamond had the game on lock. So all of these guys were relying on Diamond previews and relying on retailers to get their stuff out there. We never did that. People talk about, well, you had mainstream coverage, seeming to leave the details out of what happened. Yes, Fox covered it. Yes, Blaze covered it. They didn't make it successful by covering it. They covered it because it was successful. After the first day, we had already hit $1 million. That was with no Fox News. That was how it got on their radar. Why they wanted to cover it was because, oh, wow, this guy just came out of nowhere to them and he put the industry on notice. We need to do a story on it. So no marketing, but I didn't spend a dime on marketing, right? Didn't have the shield media sitting there making it seem like this is the greatest thing that has ever happened. Very few of them, basically none of them, covered it. And the ones that didn't cover it objectively, like the bleeding asshole over there. And again, a lot of that's political stuff, and that's fine. That makes it even more impressive, because despite all of that, and without the tools that all these guys have, all the resources that these guys had, we were able to do what it is that we do. I am proud of my team. I am proud of my artists, everybody, employees. I am proud of these guys. We're from radio, Andrew up and down, Carol, right? My man's Christian, Brandon, Alex, Brian, Jordan, Igor, Marcos, my concept art. All these guys that work for the Rippaverse are awesome people. And they should feel good about what it is that they did. And we won't let you, just because you don't like the fact that we came out and saw success, we will not let you diminish certainly our efforts. But I think that's partially why it aggravates a lot of these people. And I'm going to end on this note. It's not just that we saw success and that we differ in terms of their politics, like I do more so, and really it's more being apolitical as opposed to being political. Though, yeah, they know I'm a libertarian. I talk politics, but we keep that stuff out of the Rippaverse. We don't funnel it through it. So yeah, that's part of it. But I think the biggest part of it, and why these people are so angry, because they can't do anything about it. When they have something, and as they hold these sort of cancel guns to each other, and everybody's looking at each other, right? Mexican standoff, if you will, waiting to destroy people's careers. And usually that works for them because they all go through the same channels. And if you go through the proper channels, you're easily able to have all of that stuff stripped away from you. And they will have coordinated efforts to ensure that you don't see success. So that's why they're mad. It's not just because we're successful and we may differ from them. That's part of it. But I think the thing you have to add for the context is the fact that them being mad does nothing. It doesn't change jack. It ignites our audience. If there's anything that changes, it's for the positive, because you galvanize the troops. You galvanize people to support the work. or look into the work because you can't shut up about the fact that we're doing great things and you're so mad about it. So unlike what happened with the other parts of the industry where you can like, hey, this guy said something and then they got to go on this apology tours, we don't have to do any of that because you don't control anything that happens here. Get over it. Wherever you're viewing the content, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, you may be interested in my comic book company, Rippaverse Comics. Our first book and campaign, ISOM #1, brought in $3.7 million with tens of thousands of satisfied customers. Visit Rippaverse.com to check out our store and stay up to date with the latest campaigns from one of the hottest new comic book companies. Also, my first big step towards a parallel economy was the development of my personal website, ericdjuly.com. This entirely replaced my Patreon. Now, if you enjoy this content, please consider becoming a member over at the website. We have an ever-expanding list of perks for various membership tiers, a forum, and a phone app. Some of these perks will even benefit you if you're fans of the Rippaverse. Anyway, I appreciate you so much for being a supporter and or customer. I even got a little love for my haters.